Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. My name is Connor and this is where the informal tech reviews live. Now, if you've been following along with the channel the last few days, I've been posting just a ton of shorts with a bunch of different Govee smart home Christmas lights. I've been on a bit of a Govee spending spree, but I have this one neighbor behind me whose Christmas setup just kicks butt, and every year I'm like, man, I want to do that one year. Decided this was going to be the year to do it. Now I did take the lazy way out. I'm instead of doing like a WLED setup, I decided to go with Govee just because we have already some Govee stuff. I'm lighting myself with the Govee lights right now, and in the corner I have another one. So I'm going to take you on a full tour of that, but that's for another video. This video is actually going to be trying to help me set up the Home Assistant. Now, I haven't experimented with any of this, so it may be a longer video, and I do apologize for that. But if you stick around, you'll probably be able to gain something from it. Maybe you want to set up some Home Assistant stuff for yourself. I decided to go with a touchscreen Raspberry Pi setup, so I have my Pi 4 mounted to the back. It's a little bit ghetto rigged. I was using this as just an Android setup, like a tablet basically in my room where I was using it for just videos and stuff, but I decided to switch it up. It's going to be the Home Assistant hub. Now, I was actually debating on using the ROG Ally or my Pi 5 setup. The ROG Ally I decided against because while I don't get to play a whole lot of games, whenever I do, I don't want to mess up the Home Assistant stuff. I don't want to risk it. So I decided against the Pi 5 because this actually has my retro gaming setup on it. It runs off this SD card, and, that's kind of valuable. So going with the Pi 4, I already have the SD card installed into the computer, and we're just going to jump right into it. So when you first set off on your journey, I guess, you'll navigate to the Home Assistant page, and it's home-assistant.io. I'm on the installation page, so that's just /installation, but I'm going to start by, navigating down to this Raspberry Pi setup area. I already have a Pi, so I don't need to look for it. It says you can use a 3, 4, or 5, and then you'll need an SD card. I have my SD card, and it's a little overkill. It's 128 gigabytes. I'm guessing that's too much, but we'll just go through it. I'm going to click on the tutorial button. Now, what I'm looking for is actually the SD card image. So here's an SD card reader. Okay, where do I download the software? So download the Home Assistant image. Oh, there's some links. Okay, so Raspberry Pi 4 is what I'm using. If I was using the 5, I'd pull that one up. But Raspberry Pi 4, gonna pull down the image right there. And then I'm going to need to use an imager. So do I have the Raspberry Pi imager? Pi manager? No. Do I have Belina? I think I saw it. Okay, it's called Etcher, right? No, I don't have either of them. So I guess we'll just go with the tutorial. Looks like it wants you to use the normal Raspberry Pi imager, so we'll just grab that. I'm going to download it for Windows. Both are downloading. This one's already done. Which one is this? This, I think, was the image for the Pi. Yeah, this is the imager. So I'm going to click that, open it up when complete. I'm going to click install. Now, I'm taking you guys through this 100%. There's probably going to be some editing because some of it might take a little longer, but for the most part, you're going to be just kind of walking through it with me. I hope you're okay with that. Run Raspberry Pi imager. Yep, let's do it. Oh, and I do apologize for this blank spot in my shoulder. I upgraded my mic, so now I have an actual mic. So hopefully it sounds a little bit better, but I don't know how to use the, what am I using? The XSplit. My options are basically delete my background, blur my background. Either way, it's going to get rid of the microphone as well, and it's going to just have that spot. So I figured delete the whole background. At least you'll be able to see. So yeah, I got the Raspberry Pi imager set up. Now for the download of the actual image, was it compressed? No, it doesn't look like it's, is it compressed? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to just use WinRAR to extract it. I'll definitely fast forward through this. I don't know why it's taking so long. But yeah, okay. So now we have the actual image. I'm going to go ahead and pick Raspberry Pi 4. I need to use a custom operating system. It's going to be in my downloads folder. It's going to load everything in here. Lots of random things. Okay, let me just search for it. So HAOS image. There we go. Okay. Home Assistant OS. Right here. I'm going to choose the storage. Like I mentioned, I have a huge SD card for this, but you know, I'd rather have too much than too little. Would you like to apply OS customization settings? No. All existing data. I don't even know what's on there, to be totally honest. It was in my ROG Ally, but I don't know if any of you have an Ally. The SD card slots suck, so I don't think it ever actually worked. It may just be fresh, so I'm okay with getting rid of everything on there. Okay, while that's writing, let me go ahead and pull up just that image that I had before. Now you can see this is what the house looks like for the most part. It's a little bit updated since then, but I have the roof lights up at the top. So what is that up here? We did those over the summer, right before Halloween, I guess, so early fall. And then the curtain light, these are all in the shorts that you guys can check out if you choose to, or the full tour video is coming up soon. It does look like the image is done writing, so I'm going to go ahead and pop out the SD card. I'm going to pause the recording, get that set up, and then I should be able to grab my cam link and set up the input here and let you guys follow along. Okay, now before I wanted to go too much further, I noticed that the Govee Desktop App had an update, so I just wanted to poke around in here and check it out. So it looks like I can do a scenic dream view from here together with white noises. Looks like I could do maybe similar to the app where I can select it, but my end goal is to set up a schedule, not even necessarily a schedule, like a playlist, right? And I'm going to have a couple different themes, and the themes are going to change based on the song. Probably just like have a list of themes that I'll cycle through in order, you know. So that's what the end goal is. I'm hoping that Home Assistant can do that, but yeah, it looks like the Govee Desktop still can't really do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. Now, if my camera gets out of focus, I do apologize. It was hunting a lot, so I just set it to manual. And you know, if I move at all, it's gonna be wrong. So bear with me. But yeah, let's just jump into it. I pulled out the SD card. Probably hard to see. Now, if you're new to Raspberry Pi, hopefully following this will be able to get you all set up. But I have my Pi, and I'm just going to pop out the other SD card that I have in here and just drop the new one in through the back and the bottom, right down in here. And so slide it in there. Now I got it all set up. I do need to grab my power supply for the Pi. I don't think it'll reach over here, so I'm going to have to pause you really quick and go grab it. Okay, power supply, check. Just plug her in. Looks like I did not have my little power button turned on or off, I guess, so it's going straight into it. Let me pull up the screen for you. Okay, so from this exact moment, I know it doesn't, my audio is not matching up, but from this moment, I did not have my audio turned on, so it's a little tough, but I'm going to try and do a little bit of voiceovering, I guess. I'm basically saying that I got the keyboard dongle to place into the Raspberry Pi because, you know, you can't control it without a keyboard. So, and from here, I was trying to troubleshoot basically getting the Wi-Fi set up. Let me skip to where I actually figured it out. Okay, here's where it started. You can see I had to do a net update command, net update, then the actual device, so net update WLAN 0, then point to the SSID, so dash dash Wi-Fi SSID, the actual SSID, then you have to pick your Wi-Fi authentication type, so WPA, PSK, pre-shared key. You add the actual pre-shared key, so dash dash Wi-Fi dash pre-shared key, and then you enter your password. Hit enter. It immediately connected me to the IPv6 address, which is like okay, I guess, but I don't really want the IPv6. So from there, I had to troubleshoot a little bit more, and you can see in that list of commands, there is a IPv4 method. And so I think, yeah, net update WLAN 0 IPv4 method auto. So if you're trying to get that working, you can see now I have an actual IP address 192.168.68.66. From there, I basically navigate to that URL, and it takes a little bit to start up. Then it loads up the website. You have to create an account, and you log in. Then I had an update I immediately needed to do, so go ahead and do that. From here, I was just poking around, trying to figure out, get familiar with it. I guess it's better this way because I get to skip over everything that was like long. I tried the Home Assistant Cloud because I couldn't find the Home Assistant community store, and because I don't do a lot of research before I make these videos, you know, informal, I thought HACS was Home Assistant Cloud Store. It's not, so you don't have to do that. You can skip over that part, and it was a while ago when I recorded this, but in the add-on store, you have to go to add an add-on, and then I had to turn on advanced mode to be able to get the Home Assistant community store. But turn on advanced mode. Oh yeah, no, I didn't immediately get the Home Assistant community store. You have to install terminal and SSH. Then there's a web UI that you can use. And so yeah, it popped up the web UI right here. I found a little tutorial on how to get the Home Assistant community store. And basically I used the command. So you wget and you pipe it into bash, and it basically is a script to install everything. And once that goes through, I rebooted the whole device. And then I was talking about, oh, you can actually hear me here. Let me see what I said. Okay, yeah, not useful. Basically, I was saying that the cloud trial that I was doing earlier is a way to allegedly securely expose your Home Assistant to the outside internet, and then you could log in and control everything. I don't personally need that because everything's just kind of going to be automated through here. I already have good enough controls with Google Home and Alexa. But if you wanted to do that, you could do that. Another option might be to add your device to NordVPN and use the MeshNet. MeshNet feature is basically like a virtual network where you can communicate directly to the devices that are also in there. So you would connect to the MeshNet via your phone, and then you would connect to the MeshNet via this, and then you'd have access to it. But a lot of this initial video that I had created was trying to get the Govee specific add-ins or integrations to work, and turned out not to be super useful because they just had very minimal controls over the API. So honestly, I'm just gonna skip over like all that. I don't think that you guys should do it just because like you can't control any of like the scenes or anything like that. So there's no reason to do it. I tried the Govee LAN control. I tried the networked version. It was cool because you could get them in here, but like you can already do that in the app. So none of that was useful. Let me pop up the next video and we'll walk through that one too. Okay, so from here, this is where I decided to try the Google Assistant integrations. I saw it in Smart Home something. Let me find his channel. Okay, the channel name was This Smart House. I'm gonna put a link in the description to the specific video that I was using. I found it after I was like, why does this not work? None of these Govee things work. And then I found that and I used the tutorial that he had linked to just kind of walk through everything. But basically you have to create a project in here. You have to set it up, follow the instructions. I will link to the instruction set as well. Let me find that really quick. Okay, yeah, grab the link for it. And you can actually see it right there in the background. But basically, make sure you follow the instructions. I bounced around a little bit because I just don't have the attention span to like sit down and follow the instructions. I wish I didn't, because you know, once it didn't work, I went back and actually followed the instructions and it worked. But once you get the Google Assistant API set up, then you're able to kind of send text commands to Google and Google Assistant. And that's super useful because anything that Google Assistant has access to, you'll have access to. So what I ended up doing is going into the Govee app and setting up different tap to run automations. And then I can activate those through Google or through Home Assistant via the Google Assistant SDK. And that will control the different scenes, the different dream views. And then I ended up getting the audio to work as well through the audio jack. Let me see if I can find that video. For this one, I ended up having to add a repository and then get the MPD music player Daemon to load on Home Assistant because there is an add-on called VLC, and if you're familiar with VLC, you can stream music, but it didn't actually work because when it would play the music, it had like 2-second intervals and it was choppy. Turns out it's a pretty common issue, so using MPD was better, but I will link in the description how to add the repository or where the GitHub page is, and then there's links to add the repository and actually add the server. And once you do, you'll have this like clickable interface, a web UI, I guess. And then you have to go back into integrations and search for the music player Daemon integration. And so you point it at your localhost, 127.0.0.1. It doesn't initially have a password. You can probably set one. I didn't. And then just test it out. And so if you have the server running and then you run the Daemon to connect it, you can actually play your media. I ended up using, I think it's called Music Assistant as an add-on as well. I probably show it here in a second. Let me jump forward. Yeah, so I did a lot of troubleshooting. I was basically having an issue where I was using Music Assistant and I got the whole playlist to play. It was great. It had crossfade. It was amazing. But the listeners that I had set up for the automation were listening for the title to change. So if the title changed to a specific song, then it would implement the action, which was to set the Govee stuff, you know, however it needed to be set. And that was fine. Up until the point where I actually let the playlist play through. I was just, you know, sitting at the office and ran it, right? Home Assistant or Music Assistant to be specific, when it's running a playlist through MPD via the Home Assistant plugins, it doesn't actually change the title information. So when I was manually changing it, it was fine. It was changing, you know, but when it was just playing on its own, it wouldn't change anything. So basically none of the events happened, and that basically destroyed everything. So I'm going a different route now. I basically downloaded all the music. I think it was only like 13 songs, so it's not a huge deal. But I downloaded it all, and I still have. Hey, Future Connor here. It looks like I didn't really discuss what exactly was going on right there. So the page that you'll see me on, I think it was this page. This is within the automation section. So I chopped out a whole bunch of the video from before, so I didn't really go into detail here, but you click on settings and then you come over here to automations and scenes. So once you have your Google API hooked up and your music downloaded, you can basically automate your entire light show just like that. You don't need to do any of the music assistant things, anything like that. But it gets pretty crazy. So hopefully your light show is like similar to mine or smaller, if that's what you're working on. But yeah, so I basically have to go through and create the conditions, and it's pretty intuitive when you do the conditions. So I added a trigger, right? And the trigger was go to time pattern. So the time pattern is when the time pattern matches, and I wanted 30 minutes. So every time that you're at the 30-minute mark, right? That's when it's going to trigger. But I don't want it to happen all day. So then I added the and that's just underneath another condition, and that's the fixed time section. So that's under here, and then you go into time and location, and then time. And so fixed time, and it's after 5 p.m., and then fixed time before 12 a.m. So it's like a window. And then I don't know if I left that blank, if it would just work every day for weekdays down here. It might have, but I don't have enough experience with it. So what I ended up doing is just selecting all the days here just to make sure that it goes. I'm probably gonna change this window here because 5 to 12 is a long time and my neighbors might get upset. But yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of a background there. Now, when doing the text to speech, that's an action. And so let me leave this section before I mess it up. I'll create a new one. And so you come into action and you go to media player. Now you can play media. I know it feels a little counterintuitive because it's text to speech, but it counts as media. And you select your media player Daemon. And we installed this in the integrations and the stuff earlier. And so from here you click pick media, and then you can see text to speech is up there. And so you pick text to speech. I was using the Home Assistant Cloud, but you could also use Google Translate if you wanted to have that like Google Assistant voice. But I'm using the Home Assistant Cloud because there's a whole bunch of voices in here that you can use. And I bounce around during the light show just between them. But this one right here, Jenny Multilingual Neural, that one's really good for me specifically because I wanted to do it in English and Spanish. And there are some times when I use an English model and then I switch to a Spanish model just because there's a little bit of variation in the voices. Sounds like there's multiple people talking. But Jenny Multilingual, you can type it in English and Spanish and her accent switches like in the middle of the paragraph. And so that works really well. But once you have that, you just hit select and you can see, I should be able to hear it still if I play it really quick. And you can test your automations by clicking run right here. Okay, so it didn't use the multilingual Jenny right there. Yeah, just use normal. You can tell because her accent's terrible. So here, let me move some of my stuff so I can get it a little bit closer. I don't have it hooked up to the cam link anymore, but yeah, okay, so let me play it with the multilingual Jenny.
Buenas noches y bienvenidos a nuestra extravagancia navideña de 2024. Intentamos hacerlo todo a lo grande este año, aunque todavía tenemos grandes planes para el año que viene. Enciende la calefacción y disfruta del espectáculo porque ya se está acercando la Navidad.
Okay, so hopefully you could hear that a little quiet in the beginning, but basically she can do both languages, maybe more. I don't know how many she can do, but that's for doing the text to speech. I like to do that. So I start the show with text to speech. About halfway through, I say something else, and then just before it ends, and then after it's done. But for playing media, you do the same thing. So you pick media player Daemon, and then you come into my media if you uploaded it. If you're using Music Assistant, there'll be other items in here depending on your providers. And you'll just have to play with that a little bit. I think I'll show it at the end, but for me, I uploaded them all, and to upload them, you can literally come in here and click Add Media, and then just pull them out of your computer. But since they're already here, all you do is click Go, and then it's in there. Make sure you set up the music player Daemon to have your output where you want it. I don't know if I talked about that. I guess I'll hit it again if I did. But you go into add-ons, MPD, configuration, and down here you have built-in audio stereo. There's two of them for me. The top one is the HDMI and the bottom one is the headphone jack. Default, I'm not sure where default would go, but I'm not going to use it. So there's one more thing we didn't really touch on, and it's going to be creating your tap to runs on Govee. So let me just start the screen recording for that. Okay, so this is the screen that you'll be on, and in order to do your tap to runs, you need to find this one that looks like kind of defaulty, and then you hit go. And so you want to give it a good name. I had one that was like Christmas mode 1. This one will be just like tester mode for demo. You want it to be like not ambiguous, because if it's able to get confused with other items, Google probably will confuse it. But you'll add an action, and so for me, it's outside plus top level, and then you can pick, what theme you want it. And you can also do like snapshots and stuff, but if I wanted to do, bonfire, for example, I'd be able to set it like that. And then after a while, I can use the Google SDK that we already showed and use the command activate tester mode. What did I say? For demo. Activate tester mode for demo. And that's it. You'll set those up for each one of your themes you want to use, and you'll be able to use them and switch over to them. So yeah, that should get us all caught up to continue with the other part of the video. Manually trigger the next action. That's going to be the routine until we get to the end. There's goods and bads here. So the good is I can actually use my text-to-speech a little easier now. Before, when I was trying to do the music assistant version, I had to basically sacrifice a song. So I added a song in there that I didn't care if it got skipped. And when that song played, then I played the assistant, the text-to-speech, and then that song would basically be sacrificed and it would go to the next song after. So not a great setup before. It's probably better now. The only downside is there's not a lot of crossfade, or there's no crossfade basically. So I don't know what the best way to go about that would be. Maybe there's a, yeah, see, there's no like it's almost done item in here. It's either on or off, became idle, started buffering. Yeah, so I guess we're just gonna have to go this route. It'll be a little bit less awesome on like the transition between songs, but it'll work because I couldn't figure out how to get a playlist like to queue things for MPD. So let me know if this is good for you guys. Hopefully it is. I'm still going to put the music assistant stuff at the end of this video because I do think if you're just listening to music and you want to play some music and maybe you have your lights set up to just like dance to the music, that's still usable. But for me, I want it to change themes every song. And so for that, I literally couldn't use Music Assistant unless I set up like timers. I guess if I went and looked at exactly how long each song was, I could do it that way. But then you run into issues if there's any buffering or anything like that. So this is what we're going to run with. Okay, I went through and adjusted every single routine to, once it's done playing its song, play the next song and trigger the routine. So I'm just going to start it up and let's see if it works. Oh, before I do that, I need to switch the audio so you can hear it. Okay, switch the audio back over. Now let's start the playlist. Start the light show, start the playlist. Boom.
For some words for you, friend.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going to play through there. But good to know it has a speaker. So first one played, stop it. Next one played, stop it. Just let me grab the pick so we can make sure it's changing. That one played, stop it. Let's see, it's the pink now or whatever. Okay, that one played. Turn green, stop it. That played. Stop it. Didn't change the stick that time, but I can't let the music keep playing. Okay, that one changed, stopped it. Okay. Okay. Should have a text-to-speech here.
Was entirely developed by the Grule family. If you're interested in the setup or want to put something together yourself,
There we go.
check out our YouTube channel at Gurule. Este proyecto fue desarrollado íntegramente por la familia Grule. Si te interesa la configuración o quieres armar algo tú mismo,
Sweet.
visita nuestro canal de YouTube @GURULE.
Okay, let that one finish on its own. See, there's quite a bit of delay between the audios, but got that one next. Cancel. The other one. Okay, I think there's just one more.
Plays every hour on the half hour. We really appreciate everyone stopping by. This will be our last song for now. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Nuestro espectáculo se presenta cada media hora. Agradecemos mucho a todos los que se acercan a visitarnos. Esta será nuestra última canción por ahora. Que tengas una feliz Navidad.
See what we did there? All right, that was the last song. One more text-to-speech.
That's all for now, folks. Safe travels. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Okay, I lied. Two more, because we got to do that one in Spanish too.
Eso es todo por ahora, amigos. Buen viaje y feliz Navidad.
Okay, and that's everything. Once that's done, it shouldn't do anything else. The lights stay on. Okay. Awesome. Well, we got through the playlist. We saw that it does work when it stops on its own. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful to you or somebody. I am going to put the music assistant stuff next. Maybe I will just put that in a separate video if you want to use that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But until next time, my name is Connor. This was Informal Tech, and we'll see you around. Peace. So under add-ons, there's a music assistant, and basically, let me find where I first get into it. Yeah, music assistant server. You install it, you start it up, click show in sidebar, you'll go in, and in the settings for it, you have to create, show your like music providers, you have to sign in, and then you also have to set up the music devices like to be able to play from. And so you can see right there I had VLC Telnet set up first, but it wasn't useful. So I ended up going through and I had to basically, I shouldn't have skipped. You go into player providers, click on the Home Assistant one. You'll have to make that first, but then in the drop down for player, you scroll down to media player Daemon, and then because it's already set up and pointed at the right spot, it'll play the audio through that when you select it. Took me a second to figure out how to get back to like the actual music, but it's at the bottom of the screen right there. And you just select from the little stereo speaker, kind of like the Spotify one, to point it at music player Daemon, and then you can play it. Okay, so we're back in it. Let's jump into the automations. So create automation. I'm gonna make a new one. Now the trigger is going to be a little bit trickier, I think. It needs to be based off of, see, I could have used VLC Telnet right there. Is there an MPD one? Music player Daemon. Maybe I can do it off of Music Assistant server. Music Assistant server update availability changed. Became up to date, got an update available. Those aren't useful, so let's switch to music player Daemon, turned on or off, becomes idle, starts buffering, starts playing. I'm going to guess it becomes idle between songs, but first it would play. And so action Google Assistant SDK, send a text command, and the command is going to be activate Christmas mode 1. Okay. So probably not the best. I need to put some conditionals in there, but I should be able to try it out. Yeah, so I guess it's waiting for it to play. Let me grab my headphones for it. One thing I didn't mention, probably, I don't know, I might have mentioned it, is when you're setting up your MPD thing, let me go find it under add-ons, the MPD add-on. In configuration, you need to go into output, and this is if you're going to play it through your Raspberry Pi audio jack, but there's built-in audio in stereo, right? So I think the first one is the HDMI that I'm using to put it through my cam link, but the second one was the audio jack. So that's what I had to set it to, just to let it play out. But yeah, okay, back to where I was. We set up the automation. When it plays, it'll turn on Christmas mode. Let me see if I can pull up my Ring camera. Okay. Now, hopefully this audio or recording works, but you can see it's not on. So now I will play this song to music player Daemon. I can hear it immediately. That's good. And then it turned on. Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, so on play, it immediately turned it on. That's good.